All right, guys, good morning. Today is May 4th. Oh, and we forgot to do our morning meeting. It is Star Wars Day, so let's go ahead and do that now. All right, we are going to be reading The Golden Flower and then going over your CRC and your turn. On your own time, you guys are going to be working on a pumpkin plant, filling out the CRC, and then doing your 5 things. After that, we'll go to PE. And then after PE, we have our math lesson. We're going to be reviewing topic 4. We're going to do 2 days of test review. We're going to have our lunch break. And then at 12 o'clock, I'm going to have all of my ELD students come back. Oh, actually, I just realized that I do have to go to school today at 1. So we're going to not do our Mother's Day. So this will just be complete any missing or incomplete activities. We're going to do our Mother's Day activity tomorrow. Okay.
Wait, today's not Mother Days. Tomorrow is Mother Days.
Oh no, Sunday is Mother's Day, but tomorrow we're going to be making like photos. We're going to be drawing pictures and writing cards for your mom. Okay. So we will do that tomorrow because I forgot that I have a meeting today. So at 12 o'clock, I do still need my students with missing work to come back at 12 o'clock. So let me tell you guys who they are. It's going to be Abigail, Daniel, Alexander, Dimitri, Jewels, Matthew. And then I'm not sure if you finished those, Kendall, but right now I have Kendall. So if I called your name, I do need you to return at 12 o'clock to complete missing work with me. Okay. Everyone else, if you don't have any missing work, then math will be your last meeting for today. Okay. Just make sure that you do have missing work that you need to complete or asynchronous work you need to complete today. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to get started with our story.
Read.
The Golden Flower. If you're following along in your literature anthology, we are on page 486.
Genre, myth. The Golden Flower, a Taíno myth from Puerto Rico, by Nina Jaffe.
That's pretty cool.
Illustrated by Enrique O. Sanchez. Essential question: what do myths help us understand? Read a myth about how a golden flower grows. In the beginning of the world, there was no water anywhere on earth. There was only a tall mountain that stood alone on a wide desert plain. There were no green plants. There were no flowers. All the people lived on top of this mountain. One day a child went walking on the dry land below the mountain. As he bent down over the ground looking for food, something floated by on the wind. He reached out and caught it in his hand. It was a seed, a small brown seed. He put the seed into his pouch. The next day he went walking and again found something as it floated by on the wind. It was another seed. Day by day he gathered these seeds until his pouch was full. It could not hold any more. And the child said to himself, "I will plant these seeds at the top of our mountain." He planted the seeds and waited. One morning, a tiny green leaf appeared. The child watched. From under the ground, a forest began to grow high on top of the mountain. All the people came to see. It was a forest of many-colored flowers, a magic garden of green leaves and thick branches. The child was happy. In the middle of the forest, at the foot of the tallest tree, there grew a vine that wrapped itself around the tree. And from that vine there grew a flower more beautiful than all the rest, a bright flower with golden petals.
Actually, let's stop and reread. What happened after the child planted the seeds? Reread to check your understanding. So, oh, yes, go ahead. What happened?
A whole entire forest grew on the mountain.
Very good. We're going to reread to make sure that that answer is
He
correct.
planted the seeds and waited. One morning, a tiny green leaf appeared. The child watched. From under the ground, a forest began to grow high on top of the mountain.
Perfect. A whole forest grew on top of the mountain. Your answer was correct.
And from that flower, something new appeared in the forest. It looked like a little ball. "Look," cried the child, "something is growing out of the flower." As the people gathered around to watch, the ball grew larger and larger until it became a great yellow globe that shone like the sun. Even as they walked on the dry land far below, people could see it shining on top of the mountain. One woman said, "If you put your ear next to the ball, you can hear strange noises coming from inside." The people listened. Strange sounds and murmurs could be heard, but nobody knew what was hidden inside. The people were afraid. After that, they all stayed away. Even the child stayed away.
Okay, now let's make a prediction. Predictions are fun to make in stories because it helps you stay interested. Sometimes predictions help you understand the story better. It helps you understand the characters. So what do you guys think is growing inside of this golden flower? What is your prediction? What do you predict? What is your guess? Nobody has a prediction?
Maybe because it's so big, it holds a lot of water.
Ooh, why do you think it's water?
Well, because the people are running low on water. So, plus pumpkins need water.
And I know at the beginning of the story, it did talk about how they had no water. Let's keep going.
One day, a man walking on the desert plain saw the golden ball. He said, "If that shining ball were mine, I would have the power of the sun. I could light up the sky or make darkness fall." And he ran toward it, climbing up the rocky mountainside. On the other side of the mountain, another man saw the shining globe, and he also said, "I want that thing for myself. It will give me great powers." He too began to run. Each one climbed quickly. Each one found a footpath that led to the tree. They both ran without stopping until they reached the shining globe at the same time. But what they found was not really a ball. It was the fruit of the golden flower, a calabaza, a pumpkin. The two men began to fight and argue. "It is mine," said one. "No, it is mine," said the other.
Ooh.
Each man grabbed
What is
the
a pumpkin?
They pushed and pulled. They pulled and tugged until finally the vine broke. The pumpkin began to roll down the mountain faster and faster until it crashed into a sharp rock and burst apart.
Ooh, so Sierra was
No.
right. There was lots of water in it.
Now look what they did. They cut out the pumpkin.
Whoosh! Waves of water poured out of the pumpkin. The water bubbled and foamed. The waves began to cover the earth, flooding the desert plain, rising higher and higher. For it was the sea that had been hidden inside the pumpkin. Out came the creatures, whales, dolphins, crabs, and sunfish. All the people ran to the top of the mountain to hide in the forest of green leaves. Stop and check. Make predictions. What do you think will happen after the people run to the top of the mountain?
What do you guys
Use
think?
the make predictions strategy to predict what happens next.
So the ocean was hiding inside of this pumpkin. And so all the people are running to the top of the mountain because they're hiding from this ocean and all of its animals. What do you guys think is going to happen next?
I think that they will get lots of their food from the ocean by capturing the fish.
Let's see.
Will the whole earth be covered? They cried. Higher and higher the waters kept rising up the sides of the mountain. But when the water reached the edge of the magic forest the little boy had planted, it stopped.
Ooh, what just was created, guys? What kind of landform was created? And I think someone said it, but I didn't hear it. What kind of landform was created? It is a piece of land that is covered all around by water.
The ocean?
The landform. So what landform, we learned about this in history, what landform is surrounded by water on all sides? Sorry, one more time.
An island?
An island. Very good.
The people peeked out from behind the leaves. And what did they see? Small streams running through the trees, a beach of golden sand, and the wide open ocean sparkling all around them. Now the people could drink from the cool streams and splash in the rippling waves. Now they could gather fish from the flowing tides and plant their crops. The child laughed and sang as the sun shone down and breezes blew through the green leaves and rustled the many-colored flowers. Water had come to the earth. And that is how, the Taínos say, between the sun and the sparkling blue sea, their island home, Boricane, came to be.
All right, guys. So if you want to learn about the author and the illustrator, you can read this page. And then if you're interested on a pumpkin plant and the how it develops, the stages of its development, you guys can read this page as well. Okay, what we're going to do now is I am going to go through your answers to your CRC. So you guys are just going to pay attention, and this is what you guys are going to need to do asynchronously. So all I'm going to be doing is going over the answers, and then you guys will work on these asynchronously. So if you have your CRC, you can follow along, but remember, you're going to be working on this after we log off. You can do this during social studies time on your own. Here we go, page 166. The golden flower. Compare and contrast the land before the boy planted the seed and after he planted it. Talk about how the colors you see in the illustrations change from page 490 to 493. So let's go ahead and look at 490 first. Oops.
One day a child went walking on the dry land below the mountain. As he bent down over the ground looking for food, something floated by on the wind. He reached out and caught it in his hand. It was a seed, a small brown seed. He put the seed into his pouch. The next day he went walking and again found something as it floated by on the wind. It was another seed. Day by day he gathered these seeds until his pouch was full. It could not hold any more. And the child said to himself, I will plant these seeds at the top of our mountain.
So let's look at the colors of this page. There's lots of oranges and browns. It looks like, these people are laying down in the sand. This kind of looks like a face, and it looks like maybe it's in a little bit of agony.
He planted the seeds and waited. One morning, a tiny green leaf appeared. The child watched. From under the ground, a forest began to grow high on top of the mountain. All the people came to see. It was a forest of many colored flowers, a magic garden of green leaves and thick branches. The child was happy.
So look at the difference. This is all lots of browns and oranges. And then here we have this huge area of greens and yellows and reds, much brighter colors. So write how the land looks before and after the boy plants the seeds. So before, the mountain is brown and dark and it looks dry. And then after, the mountain looks green and lush. A forest is growing on top of the mountain, and you can see a bright flower on a vine. The text and the illustrations, the pictures, showed that the land changed. Before the boy planted the seeds, the land was dry and brown, and after he planted them, the land was full of plants and colorful flowers. What does the word whoosh tell you about the water? Talk about what happens when the water comes out of the pumpkin. Reread page 500 and write what the water and waves do.
Whoosh! Waves of water poured out of the pumpkin. The water bubbled and foamed. The waves began to cover the earth, flooding the desert plain, rising higher and higher.
So the water and waves covered the earth. It flooded the desert plain, so the bottom of the mountain, and it kept just going higher and higher and higher. The word whoosh helps me understand that the water is fast moving and rapidly taking over the land. It's flooding the land and it's creating what we now know as the ocean. Now, how does the repeating the word higher on page 502 help you understand the land? Talk about how the land looked before the water rose up. Reread pages 502 and 503. Write the 2 reasons that the author repeats the word higher. So let's go ahead and let's look back to see what it used to look like. So in the beginning of the world, there was no water anywhere on earth. Okay, there was only a tall mountain that stood alone on a wide desert plain. And everyone lived on top of this mountain. And then let's look. Now we have this forest. And then when this big old pumpkin breaks open, now we have the ocean. And then look at the difference.
Will the whole earth be covered? They cried. Higher and higher the waters kept rising up the sides of the mountain. But when the water reached the edge of the magic forest the little boy had planted, it stopped.
So higher and higher, the waters kept rising up the sides of the mountain. Higher and higher shows how much the earth is changing or how much it changed. It went from super dry and barren to all this water and this life, and to show that there would be plenty of water for the island. The author repeats the word higher to show that the water keeps rising and covering the land. There will be plenty of water for the people on the island because before they had none. All right, now guys, you guys are going to be reading answering pages 169 on your own. This is going to be for a pumpkin plant. Don't forget, you guys do have access to all the answers. You can either find them by going to YouTube and pausing the video, or you also have it in your Google Classroom. You go to Google Classroom, click on classwork, and then under resource links, you'll see CRC and your turn answers. Okay. All right. So right here, this is what you would click on. The next thing we're going to be doing is we are actually going to be filling out your turn. So go ahead and get out your turn practice workbook for me, please. Get out your turn practice workbook for me. If you're going to be using Kami, that is totally fine. Who is this? Is this Kaylee? Okay. All right, let's keep going. We're on page 257 and 258. $257 and 258. You can also do it in your book, your turn book. All right, ready? Clyde and Apollo. Apollo was the ruler of the sun. Clyde loved to watch Apollo as he moved across the sky. She watched him so often that she became a sunflower. Even today, sunflowers turn to the sun. So, how do you know that this text is a myth? It is a myth because it is a made up story. It is a made up story. So, first, let's write that. It also teaches us, we also know that it is a myth because it teaches us about why something in the real world is the way that it is. It also teaches us why something in the real world is the way that it is. So if you actually see sunflowers, if you've ever seen a field of sunflowers, sunflowers follow the sun. It'll move around on the day, facing the sun. And so what people did was they created this myth, a made up story about why. And so they're saying, oh, there was this person who loved to watch Apollo, who was the ruler of the sun. And as he moved across the sky, she always watched him. And so she became a sunflower. And that's why sunflowers always watch the sun. They always turn to the sun. Number 2, who is Apollo? Can anyone reread and find that answer for me? Who is Apollo?
Apollo is the ruler of the sun.
Very good. He is the ruler of the sun. I am not writing complete sentences. However, if you would like to, you can say exactly what I believe Ava said. Apollo is the ruler of the sun. So you would only be adding 2 more words anyways. Now, why does Clyde look up at the sky?
She likes to watch Apollo.
Very good. I believe that was Sierra. Likes to watch Apollo. Again, if you want to write a complete sentence, you can write, she likes to watch Apollo. I'm just trying to write as little words as possible so that for those of you guys who are not fluent writers yet, you guys are able to at least write the answers down. The answers are also in the chat. Now, what does this myth explain? Remember how I just went over how myths usually explain a phenomenon in our world? What is that phenomenon that it is explaining?
That sunflowers follow the sun.
Why sunflowers turn to the sun. Very good. Or why sunflowers follow the sun. Job. All right, the answers are in the chat. I will also give you guys 1 minute to write all of those down. If you finish early, go ahead and you can put done in the chat. If you finish early, you can put done in the chat and then move on to page 258. Move on to page 258. Oh, and I forgot to put an S. Why sunflowers? Oh no, I put sunflower. Sunflowers turn to the sun. And then here I put why sunflower turns to the sun. So it should be sunflowers turn to the sun. So the way that I wrote it on page 257 is correct. I'm gonna give you guys 30 more seconds. All right, let's move on. Page 258, context clues. Look at this example of context clues in a sentence. The underlined words help explain what select means. The king of Athens had to select one of these two. So using the context clues, he had to choose one of these two. So select means to choose or to pick. Read because he's doing one of these two. So think about, you guys know that when you have to pick one of two things, you're choosing, you're picking. Read each sentence, write the meaning of the word in bold print, underline the context clues in the sentence that helped you. So long ago, the city of Athens needed a patron, someone to watch over the city. So what is the definition of a patron? What is a patron, guys?
Someone who watches over the city.
Very good. Now we are not going to fill it out because the answers are already there. So we would just be repeating it. So we're just going to underline someone who watches over the city is a patron. So a patron is someone who watches over the city. Very good. Number 2. So he asked each one to give a valuable and important gift to Athens. What is the meaning of the word valuable?
An important gift an important gift.
Very good. Something that is valuable is important. It doesn't have to necessarily be a gift. It could be just something you have. Like you might say that you might have like a something that might be valuable to you, like your dog or your pet. Your pet might be valuable to you. It's important. Or maybe like a bracelet that you have, or maybe your parents, or maybe a doll or an action figure. Those all, you might have something in your life that is important. And so because it's important to you, it's valuable to you. He hit the ground with his spear, the long-handled blade he always carried. What is a spear?
A long-handed blade.
A long-handled blade. Very good. You guys have ever seen a spear? There's a blade at the end of it. And then they have like a stick so that they can hold it. In that spot, she buried an olive branch in the ground to make an olive tree. So what does it mean to bury something? There's two things that is going, or I guess there's one thing. So what does it mean to bury something?
To plant it or to hide it from something.
One more time. What does it mean if you bury something? Look at the context clues in the
Put
sentence.
it in the ground.
You put it in the ground. Very good. If you guys bury treasure, you guys are putting it in the ground, covering it up.
I got the wrong answer.
No, we think you should bury it. She said the same thing, bury it. She was trying to-
Number 5. Athena was pleased, but Poseidon was dejected at losing
Something it means to plant something or to hide it. And that's the wrong thing.
No, that is correct. Sorry, Jason. It's just because I couldn't hear you. But we also, your answers are right. That is the meaning of the words. What we're doing though is we're underlining the context clues. We're underlining the context clues. So Athena was pleased, but Poseidon was dejected at losing the contest. So what does dejected mean by using the context clues? So what I mean by using the context clues is something that I can underline. What does dejected mean?
Like losing.
Losing, right here, losing. If you feel dejected, you felt like you lost. No worries. If everything got erased, no worries. I believe that you did it. You can also complete this during your asynchronous time, which we're actually going to be doing right now. So what you guys are going to be doing for the rest of your time right now is you guys are going to finish this up, complete your turn if you have not completed your turn yet. The answers are in the chat for page 257, and then the answers for page 258 is right here. You do not need to write the meaning of the word, so it shouldn't take you more than a minute to fill out page 258. You're also going to work on your CRC questions. You're going to answer your CRC questions. If you need to reread The Golden Flower and read for the first time the pumpkin story, then you guys should do that. And then at some point today, you also need to be doing your 5 things. Your 5 things are important. It has your spelling and your vocabulary, which you are tested on every week. It also has your grammar and your mechanics, which is going to help you with your writing, as well as your grammar assessments. And then it also has your selfie writing, which is also going to help you with your writing. And it is also an assignment that you need to complete once a week. So you have 5 things that you need to do in your 5 things: spelling, vocabulary, grammar, mechanics, and selfie writing. Make sure you complete your CRC pages and then finish your turn if you have not done so. Okay, so that is what you guys are going to work on right now.